So the NSE ending higher yesterday. The recent losses experienced on the bourse now clearly showing some value that's ripe for the picking. Your view on the market and current valuations?
Well, I think it's short term for now. I'm looking towards mid-January before we put a finger on any changes on the market's direction. I believe right now we are looking at Christmas festivities, January back to school expenses, and so investors are not really keen on the market. So I do expect that is just a short-term change.
To bear in mind is that we've also got a market that could well possibly turn its attention to government's offer of a 2- and 15-year bonds to raise 15 billion shillings, which closes today. To what extent are you looking at market attention being shifted that way?
Well, usually it is the fund managers, the NSSF and NHIF, the insurance companies that will tend, and the banks, of course, that will tend to go for the offers. I think on the side of the market, we still have the retail investor and the foreign investor who will still be primarily geared towards the equities market. And therefore, I don't think that there will be a big negative effect on the equities market. What I think is that it will probably just balance out.
Let's take a look at some of the companies that have been standing in the spotlight. Barclays leading the gainers chart yesterday, but interesting that we've got investors pricing in the possibility of higher divvy payouts next year, when we've just heard news that the company is planning on cutting headcount and that looking at a fair share of capital going that way in terms of restructuring the company.
Well, I think right now a lot of the action, and not just Barclays, is going towards dividend seeking. I believe that now that we are heading towards the announcement period between January and March, then we will be seeing investors taking positions in those companies where they think there's going to be dividend payouts. Interestingly, you're going to notice that the financial sector saw most of the companies that actually had the highest turnover, equity, housing finance, which was a surprise for me, and Cooperative Bank, as well as Barclays. So I believe that that and the fact that we are going into announcement period is what is driving investors who are taking positions for now. As of pricing, I think towards mid-January we are going to see the market begin to regain and the prices go back to where they were before we actually saw the slight bearish period.
When it comes to the banking sector, with it being in the spotlight and a lot of interest being diverted that way, what would be a top stock pick for you within that space right now?
Well, at the moment, most of the investors are looking at Cooperative Bank, having outperformed most of the other stocks on that sector over the last 1 year. And I think we have seen that the investors in Cooperative Bank have not been keen to shed that share, meaning that there has been demand and not that much supply, and therefore it has been gaining quite a bit. I believe that even with the lock-in period, which is probably going to end at some time next year or so, I'm not sure exactly when, I think that they're not interested in selling. So I think I'd be watching that. I'd be watching housing finance with the real estate market is really booming at the moment.